Exception is an error that occurs when we're running our program. We want to be able to handle or deal with our exceptions because if we do not, the program will simply exit or crash. The syntax that we need to handle these exceptions is the introduction of two new keywords, try and except. The code that could possibly generate an exception is placed in the body of the try. Notice it's indented to indicate that it goes together. Then we have the word except, which means this is an except clause. We have an error type that exists here, which is telling us what kind of exception we want to deal with. The colon again, and the handler, which is the body of statements that will execute if the exception meets the criteria. If an error occurs, again, we look for an except clause. The except clause will have a error type listed. And the way this works is much like the if-else statement, and this is that if the condition or the except value is true here, if we meet this requirement, we'll execute this handler for it. So we have try, here's our body, the statements that could possibly generate the exceptions placed in the body, and then if there is an exception when we're running these statements, we will exit the try block and fall down and check the except clause. We will check each except clause and we will execute one and only one of those depending on which exception that it handles. So this handles a value error. So if that's the kind of exception that was generated, we will execute this handler. Again, we're going to execute one and only one. So if we execute the handler for value error, we will then exit out of this and exit out of our except statements and fall to the next statement in line. If we have except, as if we do here, and no value type listed here, no exception type listed, this means that this code will execute if we have not met any of the other criteria. It works as a default or an else statement.